right, guys, to be honest with you, I don't really know where I'm going with this video. I do want to mention that it's going to be unfiltered, it's going to be super raw, but the goal and the purpose of this video is not to hook you in, but it's really just to show a little bit of the behind the scenes of a new brand that I'm building called Modern. If you follow me on Instagram, you most likely have seen me communicating and creating content around this brand. And the goal with today is really just to kind of peel back the onion and take you through some of the steps that we're doing current state, share some of our thought process. I wanted to make this a little bit different compared to a lot of our YouTube videos. So let's go ahead and dive in. I realized one major thing, and it was working smarter and not harder. When I quit my corporate job, I literally was working at least 10-hour days. Like, we were demanded to be in the office from 7:30 to 5:30. Not to mention, I had an hour commute on both ends. So at the bare minimum, I was out of my house for 12 hours. I was truly trading time for money in that job. I learned a lot, transparently. But then when I was doing that, I started to realize, what can I do where I don't necessarily need to leverage my time as much? What can I have that's an asset that's working in the background? And that's where this whole idea of working on Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. But the reason that I'm bringing that up in the first place is I've always been taught to launch these products on Amazon that are low competition, that you can differentiate. But the biggest thing that all of these people that were teaching me at the time were mentioning was competitiveness. And the thing that we use to gauge competitiveness on Amazon is reviews, because Amazon's a very social proof driven market. Without getting into the nitty-gritty, the product that we're launching within Modern is very competitive, and there was really only one way to launch that product for us, and that was to launch it through some form of personal audience and leverage. And over the past 3 years of being an entrepreneur full-time, we've been able to build that. And because of that, we got Modern to a point where we had this idea that we thought about for so long, and we finally decided to go ahead and launch that brand this year. So the idea, well, first of all, going back to that philosophy of working smarter and not harder. Doing things that allowed me to have less brain fog, to allow me to increase my cognitive function, to allow me to have better sleep so that I can perform better in the next day. And one of the major things that I always did was take hot baths. And hot baths, there's a ton of different science and benefits with hot baths. But one of the main reasons that I used it was to gain better sleep and to wake up the next morning to have more energy because I had a better sleep, which ultimately allowed me to perform at a higher level in the day. In other words, work smarter and not harder. So a couple years ago, myself and Eric had this crazy idea of making bath bombs for males. Okay. And because of what I mentioned before, bath bombs is a very competitive market to go into, and we simply just weren't going to be able to leverage our capital enough in order to get a return on investment. And over the years, we've been able to build up a personal audience of people that admire us, our entrepreneurial drive, the wisdom that we're able to share with them. And because of that, we actually feel confident in actually going ahead and launching a product directly to that audience. And even more specifically, launching a bath bombs specifically for male entrepreneurs. So that's what Modern is in terms of the targeting and who we're going to be going after. We can talk about the strategy and how we're leveraging our personal audience for that. But I want to touch on the idea of bath bombs. So one thing that I've realized after doing a ton of survey data, we have close to 1,000 respondents of people that have gone through these surveys within our personal network. And we kind of came to this conclusion, and it really just reaffirmed what we had thought about bathing and using bath bombs in general. So first things first, taking baths. A lot of males we have found don't like to take baths because one, they think it's too feminine, or two, they take too much time, especially if you're a busy entrepreneur that is trading time for money and that is trapped in this hustle culture, right? You want to go back and start working. Instead of spending an hour for yourself, enjoying, relaxing, rejuvenating, you would rather go spend an hour in your business, okay? That's number one. Number two is the fact that bathing can be too feminine. Why would some male that probably stinks from going to the gym, grinding in their office all day, want to be laying in their own bathwater? And I think the main thing that we figured out was they truly just don't know the benefits of taking baths. So one of the goals with Modern is really to provide education in regards to, hey, taking a bath can actually help you in terms of improving your performance, in terms of reclaiming your time back, ultimately allowing you to earn more money. Now, the second thing is bath bombs being too feminine. And I totally agree with this. I actually don't like using bath bombs currently because when you put them in the water, they fizz up, they change up the color. That looks feminine right out of the gates. And it's like just this fancy experience. But the worst part that I find is it's very invasive to my skin. although it's supposed to nourish and make it feel silky and soft, I personally just feel weird afterwards. I feel slimy. When we started chatting with manufacturers, our goal was to make a bath bomb that was less invasive. So what we did was we got rid of completely all of these color changing things. We got rid of the fact that it's supposed to make this whole experience that fizzes up, etc., etc. We put that aside, and all we're doing is we're communicating that the bath bomb is used as a vessel to give you additional benefits. What we went ahead and did with our manufacturers was we developed a product that has certain supplements within it that will essentially allow you to get the most of taking a bath and allow you to perform at a higher level, because it's going to do things like reduce stress. It's going to do things like help you sleep better. It's going to do things like allow you to think better and more creatively. So now that you got the idea of how this crazy male bath bomb idea even came about, and what we've done to go ahead and actually differentiate ourselves in the market, which is such a key component, especially in such a competitive market, I want to talk to you about how we are leveraging our personal audience. Again, it's a scary thing to get into a competitive market, but it really comes down to how you can be different and how you can better serve someone. So current state, we have over 150,000 followers on Instagram across all of our channels. We have an email list of close to 50,000 people, and we're building these small little audiences that teach people how to build businesses. Therefore, we have these entrepreneurs that follow us in some capacity to get advice. What we are able to do with that is leverage that personal audience to get pretty much everything and anything. So doing call to actions, asking people around why they like this logo over this logo. Using our audience to give us survey data, asking them about what their current routine is to perform at a higher level, what they do to earn more money, what is their current lifestyle like. All of these different things allows us to get data and make more conclusive decisions that we can leverage in our marketing, how we're gonna create the actual product itself, and how we're gonna leverage the audience ultimately so that they can actually get benefit from the products and the services that we offer. If you're listening to this and you're someone that feels passionate about a product that's gonna solve problems and you can really relate to that product, one thing that you can do is follow this philosophy of what we call stacking the deck. And it's essentially creating content, okay, that's going to provide value to an audience that you want to serve. For Modern, for example, our goal is to allow people to escape the hustle culture and reclaim their time back so that they can earn more money by working less. In other words, work smarter and not harder. So if you're someone that wants to create a brand around some form of philosophy that you're so bought into and you're so passionate about, what I'd recommend you do is start creating content around some of the things that you do in your life that's gonna give advice to the people that are wanting to get to your level. Start creating content that ultimately is gonna educate and bring people into an audience that you can create. If you are doing this and let's say you grow an audience to 10,000 people, you now have all of these people that are obviously interested in what you're providing, and eventually they're gonna be interested in, most likely, buying into whatever you're selling. And the best part is, if you do this right and you get them involved in the journey, so to kind of give you some perspective with Modern, I've been creating a ton of content, literally peeling back exactly what we're doing from a strategy standpoint. So if you go to my Instagram, you can find information around me doing split testing and social listening in order to come to a conclusion on what logo is going to be best. We did split testing on how we want to position ourselves from a brand mission and brand statement standpoint. On top of that as well, with our survey data, we even had a small little thing at the very end of the survey asking people if they are willing to be product samplers for us. And now in doing so, we've accumulated hundreds of people that are willing to actually test our samples for us whenever they come in from our manufacturer. Having people a part of your journey and getting them bought into building this brand with you is going to create a much more successful launch, and it's going to really allow you to build a brand. Okay, so now what I want to talk about now is the fact that this product is actually sourced domestically, specifically in the United States. So a lot of my other brands that we have currently selling on Amazon right now, they are actually strictly from suppliers from China. And that's just due to the nature of the goods. This product, because we are essentially wanting to position ourselves as a very premium offering, and the fact that it is technically a health related product, we knew having that competitive edge and saying that our bath bombs are created in the United States is going to allow us to offer a more premium offer, therefore a higher price. But on top of that as well, given the fact that the people that we're targeting are people exactly like myself, I know that they're willing to pay extra for a high quality product. So in the process of working with manufacturers in the United States versus China, I noticed a lot of little different nuances. Number one, They have a website called Thomasnet, which is very similar to Alibaba, but you don't nearly get the customer service and level of service, I should say, that you get from Alibaba. They aren't expecting you to come. The better way and the more success that we found was actually just doing a Google search and reaching out to people directly on their websites. The biggest differences that we saw in the process was this. Number one, a lot of NDAs were signed going to and from different manufacturers because we're dealing with formulations here. With NDAs, not only do they want to keep their current formulas a secret, but we also want to keep our formula a secret as well. On top of that as well, research and development. So one of the cool things that I've experienced in developing this health-related product per se, as opposed to a gift box, for example, in China, there is development that needs to go into it from a research standpoint though. Therefore, what we've gone ahead and did was we did a ton of research with our manufacturer to understand supplements that we can include directly within the product that will ultimately derive the benefit that we want to achieve, which was, again, how can we have people work smarter and not harder? How can we have people perform at a higher level? How can we allow people to escape this hustle culture and ultimately have them achieve what they want to achieve? And that is to make more money. That's why we become entrepreneurs in the first place. We are currently in the research and development stage. Our samples are finally being created, and within a couple of weeks, we're gonna have our samples in hand. What are we gonna do with those samples? You better damn believe we're reaching out to every single one of those people that responded to us to be product samplers, and we're gonna get their feedback. The kind of feedback that you get on the front end is going to ultimately yield a much more successful launch. So targeting our target niche, again, male entrepreneurs, people that are looking to perform at a higher level, that are currently trapped in this hustle culture, how can we take their feedback on our product so it's gonna be more appealing to them? So we're gonna be ordering hundreds of samples. We're gonna be sending out samples to a ton of different people within our networks and people that have signed up for the survey. And we're gonna take that feedback in order to come to an even better conclusive answer on what our product formula should be and what our product is gonna be at the end point. In the meantime, what we are gonna be doing is starting our Instagram page as well as our TikTok page. And the goal right now is really just to provide education, but also just to pull people within our audiences from a very broad standpoint. So we're gonna be releasing a lot of content that is going to be pulling in entrepreneurs, people that are following business, that wanna be motivated in some capacity. Because if we know that if they are interested in this content, then they most likely would be interested in our product as well. Eventually, we're gonna funnel it down and be more specific, providing education around baths, about how to earn more money as an entrepreneur, about hustle culture, all of these different things, and telling our story about how we escape this crazy life of working corporate, being an entrepreneur, trading our time for money, bowing down to this hustle culture, and eventually getting out of it, and how we can use our lessons to educate you guys. Okay guys, so I'm gonna cut it off there. That's where we currently are with our brand. And if you guys wanna follow the story in regards to what we're gonna be doing next, so the next things to consider is how we're actually gonna go ahead and create our listing, how we're gonna make sure that we're marketing directly to our actual consumers, all of the content creation, actually selling, advertising strategy, everything from head to toe of us actually going ahead and marketing our product. If you're interested to learn more about that, I encourage you to not only subscribe, because I will release another part 2 of this video, but also follow us at modern.co on IG, TikTok, you name it. We're gonna be everywhere very, very soon, so stay tuned.